Hi guys, and welcome back to OG Cars, and in today's video you join us for the return of a car which I think 99% of people would have scrapped, and that includes Owen behind the camera. I've been waiting for this car to return for so long, but I haven't rushed it because the amount of work it's needed, and I know it's a fan favourite. I know it is. It's a fan favourite of mine as well. So let's reintroduce one of my favourite cars ever back to the channel, and that is Mr P, the Mk1 Renault Twingo. So let's take you on a little bit of a journey with my lovely Mr P. So as you guys will all know, if you have been fans of the channel for ages, this car was owned by Owen for about 18 months in the end, I believe is how long he owned it for. And he did loads and loads of miles in this car. He used it a lot, and I ended up falling in love with it. So when it came to the start of last year, Owen decided he was going to sell Mr P. And that broke my heart. I really didn't want to see him go, and I didn't know if I'd get a chance to own a Mk1 Twingo again. And in the month before, I'd used him so much. It helped me out when I'd had rubbish car luck, which is a running theme for me, it seems. So I bought this off of Owen for a really good price, and Owen wasn't to know that this car needed a lot more repairs than we thought it did. So basically, the reason we came to find out about this is I bought the new wheels, which we'll go on into a minute. And we obviously had the car jacked up to put the new tyres and the new wheels on, and they said the rear sills weren't very solid when they lifted it up. Now, they shouldn't have lifted them up by the rear sills, granted, but it was a bit of a red flag when they did it. We then put it into Owen's garage, literally for an evening, so we could fit the rear fog light, because I decided for 30 years of the Renault Twingo, which was last year, I was going to have Mr P fully restored. What ended up happening, which turned from a really well-priced respray with GBR Paintwork, who I will link below because he's done an absolutely phenomenal job on this car. I have to give it to Gareth. He said, that's fine, but I really want to make this car look amazing. We didn't know this. We stripped all the paint off on the sills, and they just weren't, they were non-existent. Basically, the sills were non-existent. He then went underneath and the floor was non-existent. And I remember when he first sent us those photos over, and I'm sure Owen will remember it as well. We said, it's not worth it, we're going to scrap it. That's literally the decision that me and Owen came to. And whilst it broke my heart, Gareth then came back and offered me a really competitive price to do all of the welding, all of the paintwork, and I ummed and ahed on it, and in the end, Owen offered me some help towards the welding because obviously he'd sold me the car. And again, I don't blame this on Owen, I don't blame this on anyone in particular who owned this car before, but someone has bodged this car at some point, and it's just had a lifetime of bad repairs or just patches to get it through MOTs, to the point where I've had to put quite a bit of money into saving this car. You might know Adam C's recently released a video on his. Mine was probably as bad as that, although mine was savable. I don't know if his is going to be savable or not, I'm not too sure. We did see it at Shedfest, we did park Mr P next to him. Mr P was terrible as well. Anyway, about 2 months ago, Gareth said, I'm going to have that car ready for Shedfest for you. So you're probably thinking, oh, it missed 30 years, sorry, of the Renault Twingo. It did, it missed it completely. But he has not missed his 30th birthday, which is this year, because he's in 1994. So in the end, because the amount of work that needed to be done, Gareth was obviously really busy. He'd offered me a competitive price on this to get it done. I decided not to push him, but I really wanted him back for this year, and he's back. And what we'll do is we will run over everything that had to be done to this car, along with the few little changes that I've made, which is very, very minimal to kind of keep him OEM plus. So what we'll do is we will now show you every part of my now fully restored Mk1 Renault Twingo, which is something I think a lot of people wouldn't be crazy enough to do, but we're here. So, front end of Mr P. As you guys will all know, this car was originally imported into the UK for a company called Gordon Lamb. Hence the sticker still being on there, because that was a big fan favourite when we first did the video on this car, so they have to stay. Unfortunately, the tax disc holder one is probably going to go, just because it's peeling off and it's looking a bit worse for wear, but this sticker is going to stay, don't you worry, and there is another one on the back still. I did actually take the front plates off, which had the Gordon Lamb on them, because I had them done in the original font with Long Live the P written on them. The front one got lost during the respray because it was there for so long. Gareth is looking for it for me, but if it isn't found, I'm not too worried. I will just order another one. It's completely fine. 2 more changes that might be noticeable around the front. We've gone for the clear indicator lenses. I wanted the orange ones, but they are so much more money, it wasn't worth it. And it's quite funny because it throws a lot of people off, because obviously the later Twingos are full glass with this, whereas the earlier ones, like Mr P, are orange. And a lot of people seem to be now thinking that it's a newer car. It's not, it's still one of the early ones, it's just got the clear indicators now instead. And also a nice touch that was given to me by Gareth is this early style Renault badge. So if you look at this compared to a normal Mk1 Twingo, it's a little bit different, it's got a few more lines in it, and it just sets it off that little bit more. Apologies, because since I've had Mr P back, I've done over 800 miles in him, and the last show we did was Retro Rides Weekender at Goodwood, and we covered the rear window in Mr P. So if you can vaguely see that, that's why it's there, and that's why it's a little bit dusty. But anyway, you might be noticing a few little changes to the rear of Mr P. So this is something that I bought just before the respray. It is a Twingo inspired rear spoiler for a Mk1. It's not an OEM one, it was one on eBay, but it fits fantastically, and I think it looks great, and it really sets off Mr P just that little bit more. Two more changes that you might notice on the rear. Obviously the number plate, I think you probably would have seen that if you follow my Instagram. That is the font the front one should be, and again it just says Mr P, long live the P underneath it, which I think is really fitting considering the amount of work we've done to this car. Again, the green, why on earth did I say orange? I'm getting confused with indicators. Obviously the green rear bumpers have stayed, again that had to stay. Gareth did do a few little gold touches, but this is the only one I ended up staying with. So just the gold on the number plate light on the rear to go with the wheels, which I think is a nice little touch. It just breaks up the rear end a little bit. And also, which I honestly didn't notice, I don't know how I didn't notice, Gareth has removed the rear wiper, and then he has obviously flattened it back and painted it in with the rear bumper, which I think with the spoiler is such a nice look for the car, and I'm really happy that he did that. He didn't ask me about it, but you know what, the stuff that Gareth has done, I am over the moon with. Obviously you might just be able to see them from here, but obviously we have also got the new wheels that I mentioned earlier. So these are off of a Renault 11, and funny story, they came up, they're perfect fitment for Mr P, bar needing rear wheel spacers because it was rubbing on my brake line when we first got them on. They're on there now, I'd like to point out to everyone watching. They were on eBay, I messaged him and said I'd like to collect them, and it turns out our friend Ben, who owns the Daihatsu Cure before, was friends with this person, so he picked them up and he brought them here for me, and I really love them. They're a little bit different, and for the 4 shows I've taken them to so far, 3 or 4, I can't remember, everyone has said that they think the wheels really suit it and they just make it a little bit different whilst also keeping kind of with that original look, because they are Renault wheels. Now I am so over the moon, and this video is probably going to end up being quite long because I'm so over the moon that I have this car back. I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. I've had resprays done in the past, I've had a wrap done in the past, and the long of the short of it is, and I can't put it any other way, they've been done like shit to the people who did them before. So when I went to pick this up, I felt proper like emotional because it's been done so well. You can tell Gareth takes so much pride in his work, and I could tell he looked after my car and he's done an exceptional job. But we cannot hide away from the fact that this car has needed so much welding. And as I said to you, when I first saw those pictures and I asked for Owen's advice, Owen said scrap it. Owen said I could have his Seicento Active Sport that he had at the time, and he would take this back and strip it for parts. And for some reason, I didn't take that offer up, and I ended up spending a lot of money on saving this car instead. But now I'm here, I am so happy. On the subject, before I go on to the rust, I'm gutted, guys, because we've got a stone chip on the front of Mr P from my first 800 miles. I messaged Gareth, and Gareth was like, get it down here, so we're going to fix the stone chip. So if you see Mr P and you see a little stone chip on the bonnet, please don't bring it up to me because I'm really upset about it. But it's there, it shows I'm driving it, I've done 800 miles in him so far, and the only reason we've not done more miles is because we're preparing for our trip to Italy, so we're keeping cars shows a little bit on the low. But if you are around on Sunday, this video will come out on Sunday, but if you're at BHP at Exeter, we're going to be there. We're planning to go and see a friend, and then we're going with Cargo Culture with Mr P. So this is going to be his last show before we go away to Italy. So that will be your last chance to see him, unless you just see me randomly pop into the shop. Anyway, rust. It was awful. We will overlay some pictures here because I'm not scared to show people how shocking this car was. The sills and the the sills just disintegrated basically when they were sanded back to be painted. The scuttle had completely rusted away. It was really bad. I believe there was rust on the floor, so we've got pictures where obviously where the side of the door would be, and obviously the floor, it's separated there. The floor's gone under the driver's footwell, the passenger foot, well, I'm pointing at the wrong side because it's left-hand drive, driver's side, passenger side. It was really, really bad. And when we first saw the photos, it really was well, it's gone, like there's nothing that we can do. And I think anyone else in their right mind would not have saved this car. I do think it would have been scrapped, because the truth is, it's a very niche market for Mk1 Twingos here over in the UK, and when they do come up for break-in, the parts go, because everyone wants the parts. Everyone needs parts to save these cars. But I decided I was going to save him, and in fact I threw in probably double what he was worth at the time to save him. The good news is, this car, as I said, it's had new inner and outer sills, and I would like to point out, these were not bought and fitted to the car. They were fully fabricated by Gareth, and you cannot tell. It's absolutely fantastic, the work he's done. You can have a look at the car up close if you ever see Mr P. It's incredible. I'm so amazed by the work that's been done. The scuttle, that is new metal. Again, that has been fabricated. Amazing. And also, the floors. Obviously, what he's done with the floors is he has just welded them in, and then he has painted them in the green. So if you take the floors up, it looks all right. I'm not going to say that it's as tidy as the outside work, but it's a solid job, and I know it's going to last me, and I'm really, really happy with it. So I will stress that. But again, who's going to come at my car and pull the floors up? I don't care. I know it's been done to a really high standard. I'm really happy. One thing I did forget about was the wings had rusted. After he'd done all the work, he then sanded the wings back, so he took everything off the car to paint it, and the bottoms of the wings crumbled away. They crumbled away with rust, obviously, because that's all this car seems to be made of. We tried to find new wings, and Gareth went, it's fine, I will fabricate them as well. So the bottom half of both my side wings, I said rear wings I was saying before, both the front wings either side, they are fully fabricated as well. And I think for the amount of time and effort that's gone into this, Gareth deserves all the praise in the world. And when we've taken it to shows, people are loving the car. They're really happy to see that it's back out again. I am as well. There's so much joy that this car brings me, which I think I sort of addressed in the previous video. I have cars like this that I really want to keep and I really want to use, and that's why I am looking to sell a few of my other cars, because it just means I've spent all this money on this car, and yes, the first 2 weekends I drove it non-stop to shows, but then I don't get the chance to use it because I'm using other cars. So this is one of my priority cars. This is probably one of my forever cars. I don't see him going anywhere. He's absolutely lovely. I love my Mr P. One final thing on Mr P is the interior hasn't changed. However, for free, Gareth used this like paint solution. Hand on heart, I can't remember what he said, but he went over all of the interior plastics to freshen them up. And when we got in it, it was noticeable, the difference, because obviously when we dropped it off, it was just a rusty mess and all the plastics look rubbish. We'll overlay it now, but like the side step pieces, for example, they look really, really good. And it has renewed it. This car's about to tick over 200,000 kilometres. And unless you looked at the seats and the inside, you would not know anymore. It looks absolutely fantastic. But the interior is something that I want to do. Now, as I mentioned, in less than 2 weeks, me and Owen are driving over to Italy in my Fiat Panda Charmander, who is currently still in an MOT in the garage. So pray for us all. Please pray for us. He has an MOT next Wednesday. We're really hopeful. Owen has put so much time and effort into that car, so we're really hopeful. But obviously, on our way through, we will be going through France and the Netherlands, who are both big fans of the Twingo. So what we're going to hope to do, maybe on our last day, when we're on our way to the ferry, is see if we can find a scrapyard to find a new interior for Mr P, because I don't mind the seats, don't get me wrong, but there's so much more funky designs out there, and I really want to have a really cool interior in this car, just to sort of continue the fact that this is now a fully restored car. It's been, you know, looked after by me. It shouldn't be here, and it is. This is still here. And what I'm quite sad about is because obviously this sat in the sun for the 18 months Owen owned it, and then obviously whilst it was in storage, it's faded to the colour Mr P was before, because the paint on Mr P before was really, really bad. That's why I had it resprayed. And now it just isn't really the same colour. It's more like a coriander green, which was the obviously original colour, this being a Vert Janos one. But yeah, there's a few bits of the interior that do slightly let it down, but I don't give it to him at all. For example, the gear knob has always been a little bit faded, but considering the miles, it's completely fine. And Owen obviously also painted the centre of the steering wheel because it was skin coloured. It was horrendous, and that has now started to fade. So what we'll probably do is, if we can find a steering wheel out there really cheap, maybe I'll get a new steering wheel. If not, we'll just repaint it so that it looks a little bit nicer in the future. So that's it from me and one of my best friends, Mr P, the fantastic Mr P. I don't really know why I like this car so much. It's not really worth any money, and people see it and go, why on earth are you driving a left-hand drive car in the UK? I just think, as Owen said in that original video, he has the happiest face in the world, and I just think he's so happy to be here. I like to think that in the back of his head, considering it's a car that doesn't have a head, he is so happy for all the work we've put into it, and he's just happy to be back with us and being used. So as I said, he's done 850 miles so far. By the end of this weekend, he probably would have done about 1,200, because we're going all the way down to Plymouth and then Exeter and then home. So we do use this car properly. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to run home before we lose the light, and I'm going to give him a wash. So he's looking his best for everyone to see him again, because I'm really excited to see everyone this weekend, and I'm excited to show everyone Mr P. Because some of my friends have seen him, obviously with Shedfest, and we did Retro Rides Weekender, but the people I'm seeing this weekend haven't seen him yet. So I'm really excited for everyone to finally meet, restored and saved Mr P. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Mr P will make a return. Maybe when we're back off holiday now, we'll, show you if we do the interior and stuff like that. But for now, thanks for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.